Hello everybody, here's what's coming up tonight on News Center Now. Yesterday we told you about that story out of Hiram where somebody stole cans and bottles that were to benefit a patient battling cancer. Today, a happier ending to that story.
Yes, plus we have a gubernatorial candidate in studio. Betsy Sweet is answering your questions live.
And would you get a part-time job only to help pay for your kids' athletic activities?
This is a News Center Now.
Hello and happy Thursday, everybody, except it's Wednesday. I'm Lee Goldberg.
I wish it were Thursday. You're just excited for tomorrow.
A little bit. We'll get to tomorrow later, right? But it is Wednesday, and I'm still excited. So.
All right. Well, today we have another gubernatorial candidate on today's show. Betsy Sweet is vying for the Blaine House in 2018. If you have questions for her, open up our Facebook live stream right now and post in our comments section. First, though, despite all the efforts to combat the state's ongoing opioid problem, this year's overdose deaths are right on par with 2016. The Office of the Chief Medical Examiner says there were 185 deaths attributed to drug overdose in the first 6 months of this year. This time last year, there were a recorded 193 overdoses. The Attorney General's office says this is only a slight decrease.
Yeah, these new numbers are just further evidence that more needs to be done to keep fentanyl, heroin, and other fatal overdoses out of our communities. One mother in Sanford has decided to do her part. She is calling out people who she believes are selling heroin in her neighborhood.
Chris Costa joins us now from outside Lafayette Elementary, an area parents say has a drug dealer problem. Chris?
Lee and Amanda, Carrie Zelke put up these signs earlier this week to replace some that were torn down earlier this summer. Now, just over there is Lafayette Elementary. If someone is arrested for buying, selling, or using drugs in a drug-free safe zone, such as a school, park, or playground, the penalties can increase severely. Carrie says that has not stopped drug activity in her neighborhood, and she says she has bigger plans if it doesn't stop. As the school bell rings in Sanford, kids walking home may see some new signs in the neighborhood.
These ones I put up yesterday on the first day of school.
Carrie Zelke says her daughter was at recess when she believes a drug deal happened just a block away from the school, directly across from her home in an abandoned house.
That apartment building probably gets 50 to 75 people a day.
So she posted these signs, reminding people that the area within 1,000 feet of a school is a drug-free safe zone.
There's no reason a bright yellow Lamborghini from Connecticut would be pulling down this neighborhood and only stopping for 2 minutes and then driving right off.
Neighbors have noticed too.
Back and forth, back and forth. They got more people going in and out of there than 7-Eleven.
Carrie now has security cameras and documents the things she sees in her neighborhood. She says people have thrown needles on the sidewalk and on her porch, and that a boy once stepped on one.
My mom rage took over, and I was so upset. No kid should have to worry about stepping on needles walking to and from school.
I can't even imagine, if I had kids and going out on my front porch or the sidewalk and finding used needles.
Police Chief Tom Connolly says this area does have drug activity and that committing a drug crime in one of these safe zones can increase the penalties, even bringing a misdemeanor up to a felony.
So it's pretty steep. You are putting yourself in a situation where you could go to jail for, a long time.
See, there goes. Boop.
Carrie gives her videos and pictures to the police department, but still worries about her kids.
There's an expectation that schools and playgrounds are the safest place for a child, and when people don't respect that, that's extremely frustrating.
This is not a problem exclusive to Sanford. Just last week, there were 2 people arrested in the Bangor area on similar aggravated drug trafficking charges because of the proximity they were to one of these drug-free safe zones. Now, we asked Chief Connolly about if they know that there's drug activity going on in a neighborhood. How long does it take to actually build a case? He says it does take time, and because they cannot legally prove that every time a person goes into a home that a drug deal has actually occurred. Carrie says that she plans to organize a sit-in stretching from here all the way down to the school playground to let people know who are buying, using, and selling drugs in this area that they are not welcome here. Lee and Amanda.
All right, thanks, Chris. Rain still coming down over parts of Maine we just saw out there. Keith joins us with a first look at the forecast. Hey, Keith.
Hey, yeah, a little bit dreary out there right now. Quite a bit of rain, particularly across down East Maine, just getting out of there, and into the Gulf of Maine as well. That will kind of re-enter across the northern mid-coast. Just dreary through the rest of tonight, maybe a little bit of fog. A couple of thunderstorms, although the activity has been largely offshore. You can see offshore of Cape Cod, Massachusetts. That's where a lot of the lightning has been so far. So temperatures, of course, suppressed because we really didn't see any sunshine today. That low cloud cover kept us in the upper 50s and low 60s. Tomorrow will be a better day, but first we have to get through some more downpours tonight. I think tomorrow morning we could have some really heavy stuff early in the morning before most of this lifts on out. Start to see some sunshine by the middle part of the day and then really clear out by late afternoon and early evening in time for the Patriots game down in Foxborough. This, though, is the story. Hurricane Irma. Hurricane hunters just went through there getting wind speeds of 186 miles an hour and the pressure way down to the low 900 millibars. We'll talk more about Irma in the full forecast in a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Keith. Meanwhile, family and fellow legislators were surprised and saddened by the sudden death of Representative Gina Mason. Mason was a Republican representing House District 56. She leaves behind 2 adult children, her daughter Haley and son Garrett. Garrett serves as Majority Leader of the Maine Senate. Gina Mason was also a member of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee. House Republican leader Ken Fredette joined the race for Maine governor today. Until today, former DHHS Commissioner Mary Mayhew was the only Republican running. Fredette says his candidacy will follow the economic policies championed for 7 years by his party and Governor Paul LePage.
Betsy Sweet is also in this race for governor. Background is owning a lobbying business, representing environmental issues and women's issues, just to name a few. Yeah. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, with a background in activism, let's start with this. What inspired you to get into this race?
Yeah, that's a great question. This has not been my lifelong dream, but my dream has been, I've worked as an activist and an advocate for regular Maine people to make sure that their voices were at the table. But I have been so disheartened by what's going on here in Maine, but also at the national level, and how politics is becoming further and further separated from people's lives. People are more cynical than ever, and we see the role that money is playing in politics, so that referendums we're voting on are being overturned. Issues that Mainers care about, health care, clean energy, all the things we care about are being stopped at the gate by money in politics. And so I am running as a clean elections candidate to get money out of politics. And interestingly enough, I actually helped write the bill in 1996. I've been doing this a long time, to start clean elections in Maine, never thinking in a million years that 20 years later I'd actually be running for governor using it.
So speaking of the Maine voice, we already have 2 questions asking about whether you support the Second Amendment. How do you feel on gun control?
Absolutely. I support the Second Amendment. I have, family. Every politician says I have hunters in my family. I do. But I think we have to be really reasonable about, we want to make sure that it's safe. It has to be as safe as, we have to all get licenses to drive a car. We have to make sure that there's responsible ownership, that there's responsible safety measures, and to make sure that it stays out of the hands of criminals and stays out of the hands of people who aren't stable enough to have a gun. So.
Okay, Ryan wants to know, what is your stance on recreational adult cannabis?
So I think I actually worked hard on the medical cannabis issue because I see the impacts of that. We were able to see that it helping epileptic children and people with cancer and people with anxiety disorder. So my issue is, so it's legal now, and so I think that's fine. My issue is I don't want to lose the niche of cannabis as medicine. It's a plant, and so I want to make sure that we, no matter what happens on the other side, on the recreational side, that we don't lose the expertise that has been developed around how it can be a helpful medical thing. I don't want just to become a recreational drug. I want to make sure that we maintain the niche of medicine.
Okay, Betsy Sweet, we'll wrap it right there, but we'll keep you around for our commercial break, so join us on Facebook Live, and you can ask a few more questions. Lee?
All right, guys, social media fired up about possible price gouging in Florida. From airline prices to bottled water, Floridians think companies are taking unfair advantage of Hurricane Irma. That story is ahead. Plus,
we have so much around us that people need help every day, with Houston and Florida and everything else around us now.
A local man steps up to help a cancer patient who is also a victim of possible theft. Hear why he felt the need to cover the cost. That's coming up.
A story on our Facebook pages is getting a lot of interaction and inspiring others to help a Mainer in need. James Day is battling brain cancer. After seeing this video of someone stealing bottles from a donation bin set up to help Day pay for his treatment, a man from New Hampshire has come forward to cover the cost of what was taken. Jessica Gagne has the story.
Angry. Very upset and very angry.
Those were the emotions Robert Lang felt as he watched this video of a man emptying a donation bin in Hiram. The bottles that were taken were meant to help 19-year-old James Day pay for experimental treatment for a brain tumor.
But this person has cancer and is in need of help, and it's just sad that someone would do something like that.
38-year-old Eric Dorff of Westbrook has been charged with theft and is accused of taking more than $300 worth of donations. Seeing this story on our air motivated Robert Lang to reach for his checkbook. He doesn't know James Day or his family, but still wanted to cover the cost of what was taken.
I just want to have a good example for my son to say that this is what people should do, is help each other out when we can.
Day, who is being treated in Florida, could not be more thankful.
It's amazing. It just shows how many great people there are out in the world.
He may have lost some of his donations, but he gained more love and support from people near and far.
A lot of good has come out of it, and it really shows that we live in such a great community and such a great world.
If you'd like to help, information on how to donate to the Day family can be found by going to our websites. When we come back.
Is it fair to every kid in the community and in the state? No, but it's a business for these programs.
The business of travel sports teams is growing at a rapid rate, and some parents are going all in financially to support their children. That story coming up next on Now.
And is the rain on its way out for good? Keith has the full forecast coming up. Report by HBO on youth sports states that in 2016, families spent more than $10 billion for their kids to be involved with travel teams.
Yeah, that's billion with a B, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just huge business in the country, it's huge business in our state as well. And there's some very high risk that could lead to at least a potentially high reward. Parents want the best for their children. In the athletic world, that can mean playing against the best, getting the best exposure, and getting the best opportunities to succeed. It can also mean a hefty price tag.
AAU program that we run has a lot of parents that sacrifice and a lot of families that sacrifice. We actually have several parents who have part-time jobs just to be able to pay for the extended travel.
That travel is part of what's being called tournications, where families will bypass traditional vacations and take tournament vacations instead. Those vacays come with entry fees, hotel costs, food costs, travel costs, on top of registration fees required to play for the travel teams.
Holidays, Thanksgivings were always spent with our hockey family around a banquet table in a hotel usually, because there are many hockey tournaments at Thanksgiving and Christmas.
With such sacrifice necessary to take part in these programs, what's the end game? Obviously, the potential to earn a college scholarship drives some families' decisions, and most of the travel programs in Maine claim a high percentage of success.
In our baseball program now with showcase level players, 2016 we placed 16 players at the collegiate level.
Since such a small percentage of athletes end up with college scholarships overall, there is other value to having kids and families exposed to travel sports.
We go and travel partly to for the experience, partly because from a competitive nature, some of those things we can't get staying in Maine. So the speed of the game and the physicality and the commitment level and the depth in other parts of the country is higher sometimes.
And for these families that commit to travel programs, they know what's going on, they get it, and they just want to do more for their kids, and if it makes their children happy and they're really into it, then they're going to go all in.
Yeah, speaking of going all in, we are going all in on the Patriots, us and everybody else. Tomorrow's a big day for football and the News Center Now team.
The New England Patriots take the field to kick off the new NFL season. The Now team will be live in Foxborough starting at 4 o'clock with our Facebook Live, of course. Then on the air at 5. Then our special pregame show, oh, by the way, at 7 followed by the Patriots home opener against the Kansas City Chiefs right here on NBC. After the final play, we are back on Facebook Live for a full wrap-up. I vote that if I ran for governor and my platform was there will be year-round football, I'd have a shot.
You would have a shot.
Okay.
If I pushed year-round football and year-round school for kids, I'd get everybody's vote.
Yeah.
A lot of parents, yep.
School for kids.
Teachers, maybe not.
Yeah.
Teachers would hate me.
They might not be into it. The graphic had a whole lot going on it, by the way. The Kansas City Chief now will be there. Should be fun.
You feel good about it?
Should be a decent day.
You ready?
Game-wise or
weather-wise?
weather-wise?
You gonna bring your shoulder pads?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm kind of like a
Do you own shoulder pads?
I'm like a linebacker.
You'd be the kicker.
Linebacker, kicker kind of person. All right, we got some rain out there right now. Most of the state is cloudy with showers. We haven't seen that much convective activity. Most of the thunderstorms have been offshore here. We'll watch this line coming just south of Manchester, New Hampshire, see if it sneaks into York County. But a rainy or kind of showery night with clouds and a little bit of coastal fog, a possibility. This front that's been here for a couple of days will stay over us through the first half of Thursday. By Thursday afternoon, we start to clear out and see some sunshine. I'd say afternoon tomorrow, some sun, a few isolated showers, and then a much better day on Friday as that high allows everything to shift to the east, and we end up mostly sunny along the coastline with a few isolated showers in the mountains on Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday are both under the influence of this ridge of high pressure, but they still have a couple of showers popping up. So the weekend is decent. It's not amazing, partly sunny with a couple of those isolated showers popping up. So hour by hour forecast showing you the rain in the morning tomorrow, but notice we do start to clear out by the afternoon, 1, 2 o'clock at the latest. And after that, we're in good shape through the rest of the night and through most of the day on Friday. Obviously, all the talk still about Hurricane Irma. It is maintaining its strength at 185 miles an hour. It's retained some of its symmetry as well after it got slightly off kilter earlier in the morning on the left-hand side of the storm. The track is slightly, in my opinion, shifting its probabilities to the east a bit, which would be bad for Miami, bad for Jacksonville, and bad for Savannah, Georgia. This is a look at the latest European model. And again, this is just one model. Got a couple of days to go. That, though, would be catastrophic for Miami up into Jacksonville and then right into Savannah and Charleston. So that would be a very bad path. You know, at this point, guys, it's hard to even hope for a change in the models because it's just going to change who gets hit. Right, I mean, there's no scenario here that I see where it goes out to sea. By the way, in our weather, after a so-so weekend, I really like Monday, Tuesday, and most of Wednesday. Probably around 80 by Tuesday afternoon. So summer, not quite over yet.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right, meanwhile, as we just mentioned, keeping our eye on Irma, thousands of people are getting out of Florida. They're fearing for their safety. The destructive images out of the Caribbean serving as a warning to anybody who plans to stick out Irma on the mainland.
Yeah, the main highways out of southern Florida are full of cars, many of them traveling slowly in bumper-to-bumper traffic.
So I have a cousin who lives in Florida, and we saw this last week in Texas. It's repeating itself in Florida. She's trying to get gas, and it's a really hot commodity right now.
So the whole gas station is full and I am waiting in line, and this is actually the shortest line I've seen so far to get gas. A lot of people are just pulling away, but the roads are completely crowded and everyone is evacuating to a safer place.
So that's my cousin, Samantha Roll. She's driving out of Fort Myers, headed towards Atlanta. She says she went to several different gas stations before she found one that actually had any fuel at all. With all of the cars evacuating, there's been a rush on gasoline in the area. She says she is on the road now, hoping that there still might be some hotels that are available along the way. She also mentioned that there's no water available at any stores, no bottled water to be found anywhere. So,
what a mess. Yeah, and you know, airlines taking a lot of heat on social media, accused of racking up the prices for evacuees trying to leave Florida by air. This woman says she was forced to spend more than $3,000 on a flight from Miami to Phoenix, even though the Delta website told her the original price was less than $600. A few hours later, she tweeted that Delta reached out to her directly and, quote, helped tremendously.
American Airlines also standing accused of price gouging evacuees. This man says he saw the price of a flight to Connecticut skyrocket in 24 hours. He paid $160 on Monday. But by Tuesday, the same exact flight was about $1,000 a ticket.
Yes, you know, American Airlines spent a lot of time today replying to these accusations on Twitter, saying They're not jacking up the prices during Florida's time of need. They say they are actually adding flights out of Florida to open up more seats for people needing to leave. Last-minute flights, especially those in high demand, often come with a heavy price tag. American Airlines says these prices are standard.
Now, the apparent price gouging doesn't stop there. Amazon also under fire for hiking up shipping costs and prices for bottled water. After a run on essentials in local grocery stores, people braving Hurricane Irma and staying put turned to Amazon. This shopper says Amazon wanted to charge her more than $100 for water. And another posted these pictures saying $20 for water is much higher than what the price was just last week.
Amazon says they do not have surge pricing, but they do have dynamic pricing, meaning they are constantly changing their prices depending on demand and several other factors.
Florida's Attorney General will take a look at these price gouging accusations very seriously. She has set up a hotline to report anybody trying to profit off this emergency situation.
All right, coming up on News Center at 5:30, we're going to have a lot more on Hurricane Irma. Cindy Williams is here with a preview.
We will have more on that, guys. Also in Presque Isle, parents and police say they are absolutely shocked by a sexting scandal at the high school. It involved more than 20 girls. Police say that a young man may have been criminally charged for threatening these young women to send them nude pictures, or else he would publicize some personal details about them. We're going to have reaction from the parents on that. And some school districts are allowing students to hit the snooze button a few more times in the morning. Some administrators say sleeping in could be a good thing, but it's not as easy as that. You have to make some adjustments elsewhere. We'll look at that and more coming up at 5:30. Guys?
All right, Cindy, thank you very much. News Center now continues with some brain drops after the break.
From one floral tie to another floral tie. Today's brain drops is, this is a really interesting map. NASA scientists had tweeted it out a couple of days ago, and I wanted to make sure it was legit before I brought it to your attention. And each one of these is vertical motion in centimeters. So you're looking at Houston, the area that was affected largely by the flooding. What this is showing you is that the Earth's crust actually pushed down, depressed 2 to 2.5 centimeters because of all the floodwaters from Harvey. So if you think about that, that makes some sense. But let's show you the math behind all of this. Of course, water is pretty heavy. So we ended up with a lot of water from Harvey. And here's the equation here. 33 trillion gallons roughly was put down by Harvey. Water is 8.3 pounds per gallon, which means 275 trillion pounds of force, of weight, was exerted on that parcel of land. They're actually not sure yet how much of that will spring back and how much of it will be a permanent depression of 2.5 centimeters.
So they're expecting some to
come back a little bit, but some of it may stay that way.
Interesting.
Very cool.
Wow.
They get a level and see how your street.
Yeah, your whole house is probably just off level now by 2.5 centimeters.
All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow live from Foxborough. News Center 5:30 starts now.